This is the Jets Draft Report, presented by Nico Lock Paving Stones. Jets GM Darren Muji called it a no-brainer, taking tackle Armand Membou with the 7th overall pick. But what does our Jets beat writer for the Post, Brian Costello, think? Kaz is on with us now. Kaz, we both had some late nights last night. Draft night's always a good time. Fill in the blank here. The Jets offense is better with Armand Membou because
they filled a hole, Brandon. Right tackle was a hole when you were looking at this roster. They lost Morgan Moses in free agency to the Patriots, and they really didn't have anyone to slot in there. That was a kind of obvious choice. So when you're looking at it, they have other holes too that they didn't fill with this one, but they chose to pick the right tackle. And now, it feels like their offensive line has the potential to be pretty good. They've used a lot of premium picks there. This is, another first round pick after Olu Fashanu last year, Elijah Vera Tucker in 2021. Joe Tippmann was a second round pick 2 years ago at center. So a lot of premium draft capital used to bolster this offensive line, and we'll see if it works. So but they have the potential to be a good one.
do you think he'll be a day one starter, or you think he's going to have to compete and go take that job?
I mean, it might be a competition, but he's the right tackle.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be any question of that. They might Jamal Adams. I remember when he came in had to compete to be the starting safety, and you all knew he was going to start. It feels like that. Like they might just do it just because they're football coaches, but I think he'll be the starting right tackle.
So a lot of fans love the fact that they've kind of shored up that offensive line the last 2 seasons, but they're also sitting there scratching their heads with the question of why pass up on tight ends like Cortland Loveland and Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, Brandon. I think when we did something last week with Frankie V.
Yep.
To me, I get it. I get Tyler Warren. I get the appeal of him, and they do need another weapon on this offense for sure. I think you can find the tight end elsewhere outside the first round. There are some guys who possibly could go tonight. Mason Taylor from LSU, Elijah Arroyo from Miami are two tight ends that are going to be available. I think will go off the board Friday night. There's also the possibility, Brandon, of trading. Dallas Goedert and Mark Andrews have both been talked about this offseason being moved by the Eagles and Ravens, respectively. Can Darren Muji pull that off? And then, you get a tight end. I think you look at right tackle, most of the offensive tackles in this league, if you're good, are first round picks.
Yeah.
There's a few that come from other areas, but it's a bigger projection. I think the further when you get it past that first round at tackle, then tight end, there are plenty of examples of good tight ends in the NFL that were not first round draft choices. Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta, a couple that come to mind. So I think you can find tight ends elsewhere, or even if you just want to say a pass catcher, they can
Yep.
find receivers elsewhere in this draft or maybe in the trade market. But to me, if you didn't take the tackle in the first round, I wasn't sure where that starting tackle was coming from.
I was talking with Bart Scott last night about the pick and what he thought about it, and he kind of told me, he broke it down to me, and he says, when do you ever see a good tackle reach free agency? He was saying if you have a good tackle and you hit in that position in the draft, then you sign that player, you keep that player in-house for a long time. You never want a good tackle to get out the house or out of the facility. So Jets did a great job being able to kind of find two tackles the last 2 seasons. The last two drafts. You mentioned tight end as a position that they could kind of address in the second and third round. Outside of tight end, what else do you think they do tonight, Friday night?
I think receiver is a possibility as well. I think they need a pass catcher, whether they decide it's tight end or wide receiver. There's two guys from Iowa State
Mm-hmm.
that are going to be there tonight that I think are possibilities. And interesting, Brandon, the Jets just hired somebody from Iowa State as their director of player development. So he knows those players, can give the Jets some intel if they were interested. I think defensive tackle is another position of need. We talked about Mason Graham in the first round. If he was there now, could the Jets take a tackle? I could see that going. They bolstered the offensive line last night. Could they go defensive line tonight? But those are the positions that I'm kind of looking at going into day two.
All right, get some rest going into tonight, Kaz. You've been working hard. Thanks for hopping on with us.
All right, thanks, Brandon.